Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It is Tuesday. It's October the 20th. This will be our chart lesson for today. It turned out it was just another range day today. We were stuck in a range really between around 219.50 or so up to about 228 for the majority of the day. We had a little failed break higher here. Um, I want to talk about this area a little bit because I got a few emails about this area right here. So I want to talk about that as well. We'll come back. We'll wait till we get to this area. Not as many trades today, but most of the trades that you did see were good trades. There weren't a lot of green ones today, and pretty good trading day. Uh, you didn't catch a lot of runners, most likely, but still a good trading day. So let's back out a little bit. You can see the range there. The blue line's the resistance, low line is the support. The first trade I saw was this trade right here. Notice that we had a little channel working up. This was the first break, and then we had a retest that tried to make the high, and then we went lower here. Um, this is not a great signal bar, so I would recommend. I didn't make it green because um, it's really, notice there's a double bottom here, there's a low here, so it's a first entry, it's a pullback, it's a second entry, and but you can't use this one for your second entry, so I counted this double bottom as a new low, and then you come back, and then this big bar is your first entry, and then we tried to go higher to make that retest, and it turns back down there. And notice where this bar turns down right off that line as well. So when it broke lower there, I like dropping a limit order in there. You really could use a stop right there if you wanted, but I liked using a limit order there to try to get a little better entry. Um, and this thing did break lower and back up a little bit and give you a chance to get in with a limit order. I can't remember exactly where, but it was at least a tick or two back into that bar. And notice it came back here anyway and gave you a chance to get in. There's a failed second entry long right here, so you really could have entered right here. I guess I should have marked that one as well. So you could enter on that bar. It went higher first and then turned and went out the low side, so I really like that setup. I don't know why I failed to mark it, but when it went higher again and then turned down, you're getting a second entry short here, and really what you're getting is a double top, um, and we're trying to make a new low. So it's not a great signal bar, but the fact that it turned higher is going to trap some people right there. So that's the reason I like that one. And you could add on to this one if you weren't already out of this one, which you probably wouldn't be unless you used a limit order and got a better entry. So you could have added on right here. I like adding on to that one. And then it drops down. And notice you pretty much get there's your first leg down. And there's your second. It's basically a perfect measured move. We already had a break of this move down in a new low, and then you got the one going up, and you got the break and attempt to get a new high, and then you got one coming down, a break and a new low, and then you heading up. Notice we already had a little double bottom, so we tested that a couple of times here. Once, pulled back, tested it again, and we're a little bit ways from the EMA, so I like taking that one to the long side, figuring you're going to at least get back to the EMA. But when this thing shoots straight through the EMA, that's a sure sign that we're probably going to get a reversal. And they probably trapped a lot of people to the short side. Look at this thing go. And this is the first. There's actually a little tick lower right there. Just one tick lower, and then it turns up. But you don't want to go long right into that EMA, especially with this being kind of an inside bar almost, and a doji. It closed really in the lower half, so it's kind of a neutral bar. So you don't want to go long there, but when it tries to go short again, you got a failed second entry short, and this is supposed to be blue. I don't know why that's red. And so I like going long there figuring you're going to test this high and you got plenty of room there. And that turns out to be a great trade. So runs up. Now this is what I want to talk about. Notice how we came up and we made a little double top here. But notice how strong that move up is. We do have a break here and a move to a new high, but you don't want to go short right there after a big move up like this because you're basically trying to pick tops. That's the first test of that resistance. So you don't know for sure that it's going to hold, and it doesn't. It actually pushes higher and then turns down. Um, so you don't want to go short right there because you're basically trying to pick tops. So you're better off to wait on a second entry. You get a second entry short here counting off the high. Notice you get a first entry here, but you make a new high, so it starts over, and then you get a first entry there, then it comes back, and you get a second entry there. But look at all that overlap in those bars. It's right into the EMA. So you don't want to go short there. And then you get a failed second entry short. Notice the low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. So you get a second entry short there, but you don't have a very good signal bar. It's a second entry short off the high. Again, it's not a very good signal bar. It's kind of stacked up there. By the time you got this big bearish bar, well, then you're down here and you got a double bottom now. And it always helps to draw those lines just until you get used to seeing this stuff. And you can see that double bottom. And then guess what? You get a little one tick failure and it turns up. But you got to get long right into this resistance. So I don't like really getting long there. The only way I would say I'm good with getting long there is if you can get in way back here. So you got to wait on this bar to complete. And when it breaks higher, drop a limit order back in here and see if you can get filled. And if you can, I'm okay with going long there. Otherwise, you got to skip that one. This is something else. A lot of times when you have a trend up and you get a break, you get two legs to a new high. So you get leg one here. And then you get a second leg, and it goes a little bit further than a measured move, and then it turns down. So don't be trying to pick tops because that is a very strong move up there, and there's a good chance we may push on through and like we did here, and we may make even higher. When we didn't go lower right here, that that's a sign that hey, we're probably going a little bit higher. Early on, I left this on here just so I could show it to you in case you don't get to see our midday chart. But I was looking at a possible spike in channel here as well. And that's another reason to consider going long there if you saw that. I really thought we'd bounce here when it came back, but it didn't. I was looking at this possibly being a two-tiered channel, but it was also possible that we were coming off of that low and your midline was in here. So there were a couple of different ways to see that one, and it looks like there's probably some other people that saw it that way, but it didn't play out. We ended up shooting right back down. The range took over, so I'm going to get rid of that. We didn't really need it. But again, you make this new high, and you got to be real careful getting short here. You get almost the same thing right here. You get kind of stacked up, and you get a little breakout. But in order to go short, and that is that is the second entry if you're counting from here. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry. There's a second entry short there. It's a little bit away from the EMA, but it's a little trading range. And you got to get short right into that support. So wait on the breakout pullback short if it presents itself, because we're probably going to come back and test this. Notice how we broke through and hadn't come back to test it yet. And so you come down, you break out, it pulls back, it tests it, it goes lower, pulls back and tests it again, and then turns down. I like going short right there. And that turns out to be the trade of the day, really. You don't know that it's going to do that, but you figure you'll get your scalp out of it. It'll come back and test this area right in here. And if it bounces and goes higher, then you might consider long. But you got a trend line working down, and you can't ignore it either. And we actually get a break here, but notice this new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. That's the first break of this channel. It's kind of the retest to come back and test the resistance area, and you get a nice bearish bar. Quick move. It actually comes back, and but you don't get a very good setup bar here, so I don't like that. Just kind of set up the trend. This is like a spike in a channel, and you got a shorter term trend line, and then you got a bigger trend line here, and there's a midline in there too. Go ahead and put it on there and notice that gap right in there. There's that, generally when prices do that, it almost always, see that little gap right in there where The bars don't overlap. When you see that and they look at it right there, that's telling you there's some kind of line through there, and so there's a nice midline there. Um, but these first two set the spike and the new channel, and then guess what? You make a new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. This is not a perfect signal bar, but it confirms the trend line. It's right off the trend line. It's the third push up. So you can treat it kind of like a failed second entry long. Your failed second entry long is really right here, but this is one leg, and there's two legs at this level. If you went to a little higher level, you'd just see two legs there. And the fact that it confirmed the trend line, I liked it. And you might have even had a better bar than that, because somebody else sent me their chart, and they had a nice bearish bar there. Actually, I want to back up. The guy that went short right here had a nice bearish bar. Notice how I have kind of a neutral bar. He had a nice bearish bar, and that's why he went short there, and he got trapped, and it went higher. This is basically a 4-tick failure on my chart. I can't remember what it was on his. But don't try picking tops. So second entry short, and then guess what? We make another new low, and this is kind of like a repeat pattern of this right here. It pulls back, it gives you another chance and goes lower, because we didn't quite get to the lower line there, and then it bounces first entry, pull back another second entry, and again this one looks a little neutral, but it closed down in the lower half, 2/3 of the bar, and it is a second entry, and it's right off the trend line, a nice key entry point. So I like going short there. And it's not a perfect setup. There's another reason I like that setup. Let me show you this. All those matching bars across there, that's a little resistance area. So that's like a failed break higher too. So that's another reason I like that, even though it's not a perfect signal bar on my chart. And it turns down, bounces, and then you get a for sure failed break. And so you really could have gone short there too. And this is like one leg and then a correction and a second leg. So this is another one of those that even though there's two legs here, that's one move up. And then there's your other move. And it's like a measured move. So you really could have gone short here. It's a really big bar. So I'm going to make it green. That's the reason it wasn't red already. But I think you want to use a limit order. Let it break below and then try to get back up in here a little bit, because it's such a big bar. It turns out to be a really good move, but you would have had a chance to get a little bit better entry than that huge bar. And then guess what? It comes down, and where does it find support? Right there where we did before. Now you've got some real evidence here that this is acting as support. It bounced a couple of times. There's a second entry long counting off the low, but it's more of a neutral bar, and just not looking like it's trying to bounce. So when you get the failed break lower, this bar closes, and then this one opens here and turns down and then comes back and goes out the top. I like that trade as a failed break lower, and the nice little the bar looks bearish and ends real bullish. And you really could have even waited on this bar, waited on the break and dropped a limit order in there, and it would have come back and filled you and gone on up again. So you could have done it that way, but the fact that it didn't take on off there, I doubt I would have entered when it pulled back this far. And you get another chance to enter there, but it's not a very good setup. You really just got a lot of overlap there. But notice all that resistance right across there, and you get a little failed break higher, and it looks like it's going to go lower. It traps people and then turns up. Notice that new low, pull back first entry short, pull back second entry short. That's a failed second entry short. And look at all those bounces, and you got the little failed break lower that gives a trap. So I like going long there. And, it's not a great signal bar, but the fact that it's a trap, and the fact that it's a failed break lower out of all those matching bars right there, and several different reasons to like that trade. There's another bounce here off the trend that also confirms that trend line. It really got confirmed here, to be honest, but just to be sure, you wait on this one, because that's all like one touch. But this is just too bearish, and then the bullish bars, you're already, by the time it breaks, by the time it finishes, it's already at the top of the range. So you just kind of have to watch that, and that gets you into the 2 o'clock hour, and you just don't see much else. So not as many trades today, but it's pretty straightforward. And just remember on a range, what happens is that prices they they trend from one side to the other, and you'll generally you'll get some failed breaks a lot of times, and generally you'll get a measured break. Um, Notice how big that distance is, and then later we got one down here, and look, it's a perfect measured break lower. That tells you, you got your range highs and lows pretty much correct. So it's just another way to kind of judge your if you've got your lines in the right spot. But notice you got a trend working up here. You get a break, a new high, and then you were working down. This is after 2 o'clock. So, but just remember, the guy today that sent me his chart that went short right here, he's asking me, well, how do you trade it? I thought you sold the highs and you buy the lows. You do, but you don't want to be too aggressive. You got to wait till you know the move is over. And you don't know that here. There's no real, look at this thing moving up. You get a break here and a move to a new high, but there might have been another trend right there is what I was looking at. And you got to wait until you start making lower lows and lower highs, and you don't get that till down through here really. You're doing it here, but you want some kind of confirmation that the move up is over. So hopefully that makes sense. Don't just jump in. You need something better than just that right there, because that's only the second time we've gotten to that area, and you might pull back a little and go right on through, and that's what happened. It had to run at it a couple of times, but eventually shot right on through, because this was a really strong move here, and it's, you would also wanted to look. That's your first move up, and then you get this correction. So a measured move from there, and look at that, you almost got a perfect measured move. So you got to be careful with this, when you enter. Once this is proven a few times, then you don't need as much. If we kind of come back and tested that a few more times, it actually ended up moving down is what happened. And you can see there, we were getting more resistance and support right across there later on. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today. Not much else we can say about today. No, that's pretty much going to cover it. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Hope you had a good trading day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. But this is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.